episode 32 of the 580 show. We just got done with our interview with Anthony Diehl. You'll hear it shortly after this. We talked about a lot on the episode, so be sure to go check it out. Go follow Anthony, like he said, on Instagram. It's Anthony 105K Pro Strongman. Go follow him on Instagram. He's an awesome follow. As you'll hear in the interview coming up, he's a super knowledgeable guy. That's why we have people like this on. I kind of feel selfish doing it because it's like, shit, I'm just going to learn from this guy for like an hour. So super nice guy. We got to train with him at Legends of Pittsburgh last week with our whole Western Pennsylvania strongman crew. And I think something interesting that came up on the podcast that I just wanted to mention a little bit is how Anthony talked about how he's willing still to drive places, and how when he first got into strongman, he would drive an hour 4 days a week just to touch strongman implements or whatever. And I just think that's something, if you're an amateur strongman and you really do want to actually get good at this sport, and a lot of people tell us, I know you guys hear it too, hey, how do I get better, whatever, and you're not even willing to drive like 20 minutes to a gym, I think it's like, do you really want it that bad? You know what I mean? It's not, and I'm not talking about anyone specific. I'm just saying, like, as a gym owner now, I hear it all the time, and it's like, dude, I would come down to 580. I'm super serious about strongman, but I live 22 minutes away.
So do I.
Yeah, I'm like, dude, we have members that I think Meat Sauce lives like an hour away. James Brady just signed up. He lives
over an hour.
Well over an hour.
Well over an hour.
Akron area.
Big Ben Harambe lives in Greensburg, which is like an hour and a half, and he's down there for mini workouts all the time. He's a member. So it's like, I just want to emphasize that. And when people, it's nice hearing people like that talk about it. I mean, just for example, Anthony came down to Legends of Pittsburgh, which is about a 5-hour drive from where he lives, to be with a client, train, just basically hang out with the crew. And yeah. So what did you guys think? Anything else you want to get on before we get into this interview?
I just think everyone's going to like the interview. He's really knowledgeable and really can talk well as well. So
yeah,
very good points and topics.
Like I said on the interview, he's our guy now.
Listen to the guy, man. He's very knowledgeable. You'll learn something if you listen to this episode, for sure.
Once you come on and you're that nice to us and you're willing to give us all this knowledge, you're our 105K guy. So we're rooting for him the whole way. He's our guy. Yep. So go follow him. In 580 Barbell News, we've got some cardio equipment now. Everyone tells me they're going to join the gym if we have cardio equipment. All right, text me, DM me, because we got elliptical, treadmill, bike, Stairmaster now. Come join the gym. We're more than just a strongman gym now, so come join. We got our wheelbarrow for Strongman Corp Nationals. The exact wheelbarrow. We are the first gym to have it.
Official? Is that official?
I believe so. Sounded like it when I was talking to the guy. So it's the exact ones. We've got the exact axle bar we're using now. We've got the throw bags. We have the exact yoke they're using. So we have every implement now. We have all 6 events, right? Yeah, we have all 6 events that we're doing at Nationals at 580 Barbell. So if you want to come down for a trip, we do Strongman Saturdays every Saturday at 10:30-ish. Come on down. It's free on Saturdays for Strongman. So come on down, check out the gym. And yeah, we're looking forward to seeing you. And follow us on Instagram, 580 Barbell, all the apparels at 580barbell.com. And yeah, come see these pretty guys like Frawley, Riley, and Dante down at the gym. We're looking forward to seeing you. But here's our interview with Anthony Diehl. All right, everyone. So joining us now is Anthony Diehl, 105 kilo strongman. Anthony, we're chirping it up a little bit before the episode, but seriously, thank you for taking the time to come on here and talk with us. I'm really excited.
Yeah, man, my pleasure. Excited to.
So I've personally followed you for quite a while on social media, just being a strongman competitor, owning a strongman gym, and I finally got the privilege, Dante, Riley, and myself got the privilege to meet you last week. So it was kind of like, hey, might as well just shoot my shot, ask him to come on the podcast. It was really nice. It was nice sitting with you at lunch, dinner, whatever, after training. So it's just one of those guys to be around that it's like, when you talk, it just feels like you know a lot more than me, and it's nice to.
That's probably because we talk a lot.
You have like the craziest, like you have the most professional, but like I can't even explain your like tweets that you screenshot and put on your Instagram, but they're like they look so professional, but like I don't know. I've actually,
man, I have no professional skills whatsoever. I couldn't do what Dante does, and I just saw somebody else doing that, and I was like, hey, that's a way to make it look like I know what I'm talking about. And honestly, so legit, here's why I love Twitter, because it's like 180 characters. So when I want to say a thought, a lot of times I'll sit there for like 10 minutes having to delete things like, no, I don't need to say that. I don't need that adjective. So it helps me distill things down into poignant sentences. So it helps me master things better, honestly, because anybody can ramble for 15 minutes, but to say something succinctly in 180 characters. So I find those tweets, they're more for me. Like when I post stuff like yelling at people to be like disciplined and not be little pussies and stuff like that, it's usually because that morning I've wanted to be like, no, I want to sleep in. I don't want to get up, you know.
a little self-reminder.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's 90% of those posts are to me. And I just figure, well, if I'm struggling with this, someone else is too. So I'll just share it.
Yeah. They apply to somebody else too.
What I do is I get like super mad about something and I just go on Twitter and I type out something like really mad, like in an angry way. And then I just delete it or save it to my drafts. My drafts, I probably have like 400. It's literally just how I get my aggression out. It's like,
I love it.
I just type something really mean, or I just subtweet Riley about like one of his sports teams losing.
Or you type out a 3-paragraph post on Instagram about the gym.
That is true. I do that.
That's true too.
That's hilarious.
Dude, I haven't logged into Twitter in probably months. Ever since I got my new phone, I didn't even bother with it.
Yeah, I don't.
It's funny. I don't check. Like, I literally use Twitter to post on Instagram. When people retweet me and like try to engage, I'll look. I just looked on there this morning, and like loads of people are asking me questions, and I'm like not engaging whatsoever. I kind of feel badly, but I'm like, whatever.
Is what it is.
Dante, can you even get Twitter on Android?
That's true.
Easily.
Literally.
It's on the Google App Store.
You missed a huge debate at the gym today that we were just pissed off about droid people and how big of an inconvenience as Dante is to my life.
Dude, if I see a text coming through green, I judge you.
That's Dante.
Come on.
That's Dante.
I'm like, up, can't FaceTime, up, can't group message, can't iMessage.
See, now you bully me now because everyone here has an Apple. And in the gym, it was like 3v3.
No, it was not. It was still like
6v3. No, it wasn't.
Like 6v3.
Who was your backup, Dante?
It was Santino and Julia.
Yeah.
All right, then. That proves our point.
Like, Anthony, Dante's like our cameraman too. So he'll at the gym, he films like all our technique sets, any sets that we're watching to critique our form or whatever, top sets, max effort sets. So then he's got to like send it to either our Instagram or our Facebook, and it's just the whole thing. I told him I will give him $100 bill to fund an iPhone. I'm sure Riley and Frawley would.
Try to GoFundMe for his iPhone.
Seriously.
Dude, when I went to Russia, Wes Claiborne was teasing me. Wes Claiborne and Travis Whitmire were teasing me because I was the only 105 there. Yeah. So I'm just this tiny human in the midst of these giants. And so as a joke, Wes Claiborne for like 3 days, he started a GoFundMe for my grocery bill to
get it's hilarious to hear you say that because
that's great.
Like, sitting next to you and standing next to your legends, it's like you're considered a smaller guy in strongman, and you're like a 265, like maybe 250s. You said. Yeah. You're a bigger dude, and you're considered small next to those guys.
Dude, it is, man. It was crazy. When I was over there in Russia, I'm like, I don't belong. Why am I here? This is nuts. So like, I'm standing, like they called our names out, and I had to stand right next to Konstantin Janashia.
Crazy.
Wow. What? Oh, it's funny.
That show looks so cool though. Like I see. What was it? Was that called the Siberian Power Show?
Yeah, man. I'll tell you what. They value strength over there.
I was just gonna
Russia so much more. We're a team sports nation over there. It was nuts. It was the craziest stage I ever performed on. Way more production value than like the Arnold or anything. Yeah. I mean, for the final night, they were charging people like $30 a ticket. There was like 500 people. It was standing room only in the event center. And then they combined it to make it interesting for everybody. They had like men's bodybuilding, women's bikini, whatever. So like everybody went differently. So we went with like they opened with like men's bodybuilding. Then they moved over to us on the stones. And then they went to like women's bikini, and then they went to us on the log. So it was like back and forth. So it was like this whole fitness extravaganza. Dude, there were thousands and thousands of people there. Like I stood in line afterwards, after day one, like everybody wanted like pictures and stuff. And I think partly because we're Americans too, but it felt so weird because I'm like, they don't value it like this in America.
Right.
Like, they just don't. And it was weird to be in that place because like they just respected the heck out of anybody who was a strength athlete. It was crazy.
Right. I remember seeing like I like you talked about like the production value, and there was like crazy ass like lights and fireworks and stuff. I'm like, dude, we don't give a shit.
Oh yeah. We were doing the Hercules hold,
Like,
and when you let go and
yeah,
as soon as it fell, like
flames went up and shit. That was
That's sweet.
crazy.
it was absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
I'd almost want to drop that Hercules just to see the pyrometrics.
So it's like
Everyone
you're gonna
did.
drop it eventually, I guess. So
Oh yeah, everybody dropped it eventually. It was
Now, when you were competing internationally, did you go a few days ahead of time? Like how did you adjust to that?
Oh yeah, we had to.
Yeah.
So I got like no notice for that. Literally, I'm sitting here at my house. It's like February, and Dion messages me on Facebook and from Strongman Core. She goes, "Yo, can you give me a call?" So I was like, "Yeah, sure." So I call her. She goes, "Hey, you want to be part of this team competition in Russia? All expenses paid, blah, blah, blah." I was like, "Yeah, like why not?
Sure.
Once in a lifetime opportunity." I'm like, why are you asking 105? But whatever. So I just went with it. And so like hurried up, expedited my visa and all that kind of stuff. We got over there, I think like 2.5 days early because they're 11 hours ahead of us. So it was definitely weird with the jet lag
Sure.
and time shift. So
what was it like? Was it weird with COVID? Like, or was it kind of like I don't know where Russia's at like with that. So it's like, was it?
it was like PA. It was like PA. You have like a blue governor, but no one gives a shit. So like there were signs posted everywhere and nobody wore masks.
It's like Beaver County.
Yeah. Yeah. Like down here in Lancaster, it's all Amish country. And like our gym stayed open the entire time. The police chief and half the crew worked out with us. Like
Right.
no one cared.
Yeah.
So there were signs everywhere, but nobody wore masks.
Right.
Sure.
Yeah, that's kind of how we are. I guess I should have also, I mean, we jumped right into it, but I guess I could have prefaced that you did win 2020's America's Strongest Man.
Yeah.
No big deal.
Yeah. So just to give like people that are listening that usually listen, just to kind of familiarize themselves with you. Was that your biggest accomplishment to date in strongman, winning America's?
For sure. I mean, because I only went pro in 2019, and I went pro at nationals in 2019, and then I did ASM 2 weeks later after that, which was nuts. But it was in my hometown. I couldn't pass it up. But I didn't train for any of the events. I was just like, okay, well, I'm a pro, so I might as well do a pro show in 2 weeks. So it's 2 25-pound water cuts back to back. Don't recommend that. But I had a blast just because there was no expectation on me. I did pretty well. I think I finished like 7th. So I beat I beat a handful of pros. But for my first time out, I had a blast. And then, yeah, man, I just got fortunate. I've had a series of injuries. I'm kind of dealing with a herniated disc in my back right now. And I had herniated my disc in March of 2020, 4 weeks before the Arnold. And I still did the Arnold. I did it as a heavyweight amateur. And so I was very fortunate with my ASM prep for 2020 in that the deadlift was a front handle lever deadlift from from 13 to 14 inches. So I was able to kind of avoid messing with my low back and really put myself in a position to basically utilize a lot more of my quads. So not basically deadlifting from the floor, I was able to hold everything together. I knew going into that show that I was going to be competitive. My goal was podium. And I thought that was going to be a stretch. And I got to the end of day one and I'm like, I'm in the lead by a point. So now the pressure was really on because it's a 2-day comp. And I was like, oh my goodness. So now I slept not at all. like I couldn't sleep, man. I was so anxious and nervous because now I'm like, shoot, there's pressure now because I'm the clear leader. And Nick Canby was hot on my tail. Everybody knows who Nick is right now with breaking the axle record and his dominant performances. I think he's probably the best 105 alive today. There's one
You're
guy.
probably the last person to beat him in a competition.
Yeah. Yeah, and I would think I will be for a long time. Because even then, he was having a rough weekend. Like, he's a really good presser, and he struggled with that circus dumbbell. That circus dumbbell was really slick. So he couldn't get it stabilized on his back. I kept telling him it was multicolored. One side was black, the other side was red. The red was shiny and slick. And I was like, clean it so the black part, the powder coat, is on your back. And I used spray tacky. But it was a 210-pound dumbbell, which is still really heavy for 105.
Was it for reps or was it
For reps.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so I got 2, which I was thrilled with because my PR is 235 for a single. And so I was happy with 2, and I think he only got 2. So tying him out the gate, that kind of dropped him a little bit because he's not a deadlifter.
Yeah.
And then the deadlift, I don't know. I just got into a great position and went off and ended up, it was like a 675. I ended up pulling it for 12. And that won that. So that just put me in a good spot. And then I ended up getting, I think I won 2 events. I won the deadlift and the sandbag carry and load at the end. And then I got second place on the truck pool. So yeah, it was one of those things where, if it was strongman, there's so many variables that go into it. There were probably 5 guys in contention the entire weekend, and it could have gone any way. So with strongman, it's, preparation and hard work. There's always a little bit of luck tossed in there.
Yeah. I mean, there's no standardization. So it's like, you can have the events, you can have, if you're a good deadlifter, you can have 2 deadlift events, or if you're a presser, there can be 2.
And I'm disastrous deadlifter from the floor. Like that, the floor is my weak spot. But if you move up to 13 inches, from 13 on up, I'll hang with anybody. But the floor, like, so I got fortunate with event selection. And then honestly, it was just one of those comps where it's that you hope to have. I didn't make any mistakes. Like, looking back on it, I couldn't have done anything differently. And most of the times I look back at a comp and go, oh, you could have pushed harder. Oh, you missed that rep because X, Y, and Z. And so, and all that to say, I still give loads of props to Camby because I only beat him by 4 points, and he was having a rough weekend. And so for him to come in second place, like, to still come in second while struggle bussing, that just shows how good he is. Like, he's an absolute tank.
And for people listening, America's Strongest Man, it was definitely the biggest show for 105 kilo guys. It's still one of the top 2 until Clash on the Coast came.
Clash has definitely taken over.
Yeah, Clash has taken over, but 105 before Clash, America's Strongest Man was like the show for 105s.
Yeah, it's still gonna be big this year. Dion's doing a lot of good stuff. I'm not going back, just I'm still dealing with some injury with my bicep tear, because that's what I did as soon as I got back from Russia. I started prepping for Clash.
Yeah.
And just a good lesson for everybody, don't jump into heavyweight right away. And because I'm a decent presser, I thought I'll be fine. And I had an axle cleaned in probably 8 weeks. And I just jumped right in, and it was on a 330 axle, which I've cleaned and pressed for sets of 6. So I'm not even worried about it. And I just gripped and ripped, and it didn't even hurt. It just felt like a rubber band snapped. I lost power. I looked over my buddy Mike. Dude, did I just tear my bicep?
That's when it always happens, is with weights you've already touched a gajillion times.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good point, kind of to rewind a little bit, like what you were saying. You kind of, and you're a different level. You're a pro strongman. You get a shot to go to Russia and then come back to Clash. It's like, yeah, you can't blame me for doing that.
Right.
And one thing that I really, really try to tell the guys at our gym and like the amateurs we train around, don't worry about doing like 11 shows a year.
Oh, absolutely.
I think like the best advice I've ever gotten from people that I really respect their opinion is do 1-2 shows a year as an amateur, and really focus. Yeah. Like 8 to 10 weeks before, prep for that show, but the rest of the year, use it to actually get stronger.
Yeah, when you think about it, if you compete, let's say you compete 7 times, if you're doing it correctly, you're going to deload the week before, and you're probably going to have a pretty mild deload the week after. So if you do 10 shows in a year, there's 20 weeks out of the year, close to half the year, where you're not really in a phase of growth.
Right.
You're deload, and so you're missing out on those gains.
I mean, you do 5 shows a year, which honestly, we have guys that we know in our gym that they do 5 shows a year. Yeah. And that's, like you said, just quick math, that's 10 weeks you're not training.
Yep.
It's like, and then the 3 to 4 weeks probably before, you're really just focusing on those events, right?
And you're peaking, so you're not growing strength, you're peaking.
Right. That's what you say, like leading up to a show, those 2 to 3 weeks, you're not going to get much stronger before that show.
No, but you can hurt yourself.
Yeah, all you're doing is just beating the shit out of yourself, and you're fine tuning those events, right? So you're trying to cut times off your medley runs, your sandbag runs. You're just trying to fine tune it. So I really think like that what you said kind of just resonated and just reminded me of that. It's like pick a couple shows, do them. You learn a lot at shows, you get a lot of experience, but don't overdo
That
it.
and respect the weights, like I've done that weight a million times, but it's still heavy. I don't care who you are. 330 pounds is heavy. It's heavy for Brian Shaw. And, I just wasn't respectful of it. I'm coming off a high of Russia thinking I'm invincible and pop. So humble pie served right there.
Right.
But it was a blessing for me in disguise because I'd been running my body hot for a while. And I was due for, here's the crazy part. When you get to this level and there's opportunities, you don't want to say no. Like how many people get an all expenses paid trip to Russia to compete with Janashia and Rauno Heinla and Ortmeyer and these guys like that? Like, it's a very rare thing. So they're going to jump on it. But I told my wife, I was like, babe, I'm pushing myself. And I'm like, I can feel my body and it's starting to rebel and something's going to happen. And I told her, I was like, I said, I want to do Clash. I want to do Russia. And people don't realize this too. That show that Nick went to, that Canby went to in Russia, like a month after Clash, I was supposed to do that show, but I picked Nick as my replacement because I tore my bicep. So originally I was supposed to do Russia, Clash, Russia again.
Yeah.
And then I was going to do, I had a powerlifting meet scheduled for August. I was going to try and total 200K, 2K. It was unreal. I just had all this stuff. And I told my wife, I was like, I don't want to say no and pull out of these opportunities. I was like, maybe I literally said this in February. I said, I need my bicep to pop or something. That way, if I can't do these comps, then people won't judge me for not doing them.
What you wish for.
Yeah. Careful what but it's been a blessing in disguise though, honestly.
Yeah, 100%. So one thing I noticed from your posts, your social media posts, and just talking to you last weekend is your knowledge on nutrition. And so I wanted one person. I want you, Dave Portnoy, how he rates like pizza scores, like 1 to 10.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna give you a day of eating from someone I know who may or may not be on this podcast. Okay. I'm gonna give you exactly what they ate today. All right. And I just want your honest score and 1 out of 10 rating. Okay.
What's the rating? Are we looking at just like nutrient, just the whole total package?
Okay. So say this person's your client, right?
Okay.
And you're gauging how they're an amateur strongman, and they're about to do their first sanctioned show in October. And they're like, hey, I can't figure out why why I don't have a 6-pack, or why I'm fat or something like that. They're just like, I can't figure out my nutrition. And,
go. All right.
And so they tell you what they eat. And I want you to tell them, rate it 1 to 10. Okay.
All right.
This is going to be a reoccurring thing on your podcast. On our podcast, we're just going to call you and get the deal.
All right. I'm down.
So breakfast, this person woke up and had coffee and a bagel. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Then lunch. And this is a day they trained too. They had a lot of volume on upper. So coffee and bagel. Then lunch, they had chicken in the air fryer. And then dinner was a burger and 2 hot dogs from a local fast food place. And that was all they ate.
I'm going to give that a quality 2 to 3. How big is this person? What's their body weight?
Riley, just what do you weigh roughly?
Not saying 225. 225.
Oh, you're probably like, just rough guesstimating, you're probably like 120 grams off on your protein, 400 grams off on your carbs, and probably sky high on your fats.
I told Riley I was gonna read you what he eats because I always bust his balls, but Riley has like an awesome fiance that pampers him, and he's out of town this week, so I knew it was gonna be like super bad.
I'm on vacation right now.
Yeah, he's on vacation from his diet.
Yeah. So it's like Chef Boyardee and Bud Light.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, Bud Light's Iron City's normal for him.
Oh yeah.
But
all right.
he'll be like on Xbox or something. I'll be talking to him, and you just hear a plate get dropped right in front of his fiance just comes and brings us.
Oh my goodness.
Right.
Oh, Marry her. Yeah, your fiance. There we go. Good job.
I can't bust his balls too much because it's not a. I mean, he doesn't eat good by any means.
I did make myself a steak last night though.
Hey, there you go. There you go.
Oh,
And-
wow.
Do you
And
believe-
I
you
do
believe
want to say that diet beat
Fruit.
Josh in planks on Saturday. So
all right. All right.
Oh, it did.
Do you
It
believe in
did.
veggies or fruit?
so
That is true. What do you think if so? No details, right?
Sure.
Every person in strength sports. What do you think one diet change, nutrition change that can make a big difference to them? One thing that you see a lot of people missing out on. What do you think?
Well, it's going to be a battle between two things. Most people aren't getting as much protein as they think they're getting, which that can be overshot because some people, man, you read of guys doing like 300, 400 grams of protein, which is overkill, but most people aren't getting enough. And then we also break this down with women too. Okay. Women and men are very different. Even in strength sports, women don't eat anywhere near enough, period and full stop. They're eating 1,400 calories and it's a joke. But I would say for men, in your case, I see a huge lack of micronutrients, right? We're all about the vertical diet and steak and stuff like that, but nobody's getting the micronutrients in there. So I think if dudes would prioritize getting some fruits and vegetables in there, their performance will go through the roof simply because you're going to recover better. You need those micronutrients literally to power the mitochondria, which is the powerhouse of the cell, to make them more efficient at burning fat and building muscle. So if you don't have that, you're running short. You're running on fumes. But most females I would just get them to eat more. That's a tough question to answer because I would have.
No, I know. I will say I followed the vertical diet for a very long time. And I recently, within the last like 6-ish months, I started really paying attention to my nutrition more. Been really talking to a lot of people that know a lot more about nutrition, and I added in broccoli, fruits, stuff like, and in the gym, I feel great. My body weight has actually went down. My strength's been up. So,
You can't complain. And by the way, I'm not trashing vertical. Just a lot of people approach the vertical diet the way they approach keto. And when they think that keto is, cheese whiz on top of the fattest cut of steak that you could possibly have and butter in your coffee. And it's like, okay, that's not quite what it is. And people with vertical diet just hear rice and beef. But, Stan does put an emphasis on vegetables and fruit and things like that. Yeah. So vertical diet's great because I think it's so easy. In fact, if I'm in an off season, especially I like to hunt a lot. So come hunting season, I will resort to mash and I'll put that in my thermos to take it out in the woods with me. So I follow a lot of vertical kind of my off season, just it's easy.
Regardless if you follow it like strict or not, I picked up so many good habits from vertical diet. Yes. Like I picked up so many good things. And I think that's kind of how like whether it's an exercise plan or a nutrition plan, you can take the really good stuff that works for you. I think everyone's a little bit different. Take the really good stuff that works for you and then make your changes to it. And that's what I do with vertical diet.
Absolutely. And the two biggest things I got from vertical diet that I try to apply to all my clients is one, that salt is not the enemy. So people with high blood pressure and stuff are often told to remove sodium from their diet. And that's just because from a behavioral perspective, it's really hard to get people to build a new habit into their life. It's easier to tell them to stop doing something. The reality is blood pressure is off because your potassium and sodium ratio is off. You don't need to lessen the salt. You need to increase the potassium. But again, it's easier to tell somebody to just remove something from their diet than it is to say, start doing X. So, but if people would increase their potassium, they don't need to decrease their sodium, and an increase of sodium, as you know, is going to make for better muscle pumps and better, firing of your muscle neurons. So that, and then the walking after meals. So I am a huge fan of cardio, but not for fat loss. I think cardio for fat loss is pointless unless you're a bodybuilder and you're doing an hour, a couple hours a day and you're getting ready for a show. Because when you think about it, if you and I, at my body weight, if I walk for an hour, I might burn 350 calories, or I could just not eat the muffin. So we've got a 1 hour investment in time spent versus a 3-second decision. Again, nutrition controls everything. But what I do think cardio is important for, it helps with digestion. It promotes recovery by, blood flow. It's heart protective. So I make my clients do cardio, just not for the reasons they think they're doing. It's not for fat loss. It's just for overall health and recovery.
Right.
But yeah, diet controls everything, man.
Right. I know. I just sitting down with you last weekend, like learning, like my fiance, you went on a rant about fish oil, and she like now is like religiously taking fish oil. You basically made it sound like you're gonna die if you don't take fish. Like,
there's just very few supplements I think everybody should take, but that's one that I have everybody take if they're not, because you're not getting enough unless you're eating salmon 3 days a week. You're not getting enough omega-3s, and it's very cardio protective. It's lipid protective. It's good for your brain health. Will help you burn fat, ironically, as well. So I'm big into that, and then vitamin D. Vitamin D is the other thing. The only time that I get careful with vitamin D is with gingers. Go get your blood work done.
hey,
Get your blood work done. You're probably deficient, but maybe not. Genetically, gingers will always have higher triglycerides and higher lipids. So just something to be aware of with your diet. So fish oil, all the more important. But supplementing something like citrus bergamot to help keep the lipids in control. But if you have too high of vitamin D, it can actually lead to calcification of the arteries. But again, that's so rare. So I still throw that caveat in there. Most people are deficient. In fact, 70% of people who died from COVID were vitamin D deficient.
Right.
And so I think it's critical. So that vitamin D is something I tell everybody to take, and fish oil. Those are the only two that I think everybody should take. Everything else, there's loads of supplement out there. I take an astronomical amount of things depending on what I'm doing. That's all situation dependent.
yeah. So we posted to our Instagram some like for questions for you, and we got a ton. Well, one thing is you got those puppies we all saw on social media. That was asked multiple times. How are the puppies doing? You got a chocolate and a black lab?
Yeah, we got a chocolate and a black lab. They're brother and sister. At first we thought we were nuts trying to get two of them, but actually I think it's great because they always have somebody to play with.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, twice the crap to clean up when they pee in the house.
I don't know what this word is in this question. So if I'm being trolled, it's very well. It could be like what are your thoughts on ashwagandha?
Ashwagandha.
Ashwagandha.
Yeah.
Come on, Josh.
What the hell is?
Let's
I
sound
feel
it
like
out.
someone's
Sound
gonna
it
be
out.
like Ash. There's no N in the question, so the person spelled it wrong.
Yeah, they spelled it wrong.
Who was it?
I feel like someone's gonna be like ashwagandha these nuts or something. It's
Who was it?
play on words.
No, it's an adaptogenic herb that can help with sleep and stress management. I think sometimes it's touted as kind of like a fix-all solution for sleep. And the issue with it, like any other thing in the supplement space, is you need to make sure you're finding a good source. I personally recommend Revive MD. Anything they put out is great. That company is owned and operated by like Matt Jansen. He's a big bodybuilding coach. But yeah, that's a good one. But you have to understand, like, different adaptogenic herbs will help you with different ways that you struggle to sleep. For example, some people will struggle to fall asleep. Then once they're asleep, they're out. Other people, they can fall asleep right away. I can fall asleep right after drinking a French press of coffee, but then you're going to wake up a million times during the night, wake up with your mind racing, wake up at 2:00 and you're ready to rock and roll, but you need to sleep for another 4 hours. So it just depends what you're struggling with. Ashwagandha can absolutely help with that.
Nice. What would be your best strongman event that you can train a lot without ruining your recovery? Like, what do you think something that's not going to beat you up?
Pressing is always going to demand less than any form of squat or deadlift or yoke. Yoke, I think, is one of the most taxing.
For sure.
Personally, if I'm training for a yoke, when I start to get heavy on yoke, it goes every other week. We don't do it every week. If you're training super sub-maximally for speed and footwork and things like that, then fine, you can do it every week. But once it starts to get heavy, you need to really take some time off, because that can beat you up pretty good.
For sure. This is one definitely we all need to hear because we're addicted to energy drinks. But what are your thoughts on energy drinks and what are the health risks, stuff like that? Like, is it as bad as people say, or is it worse? Is it?
Nah, it's one of those things in moderation. It's not a big deal. I mean, if you're overdoing it all the time and you're drinking 3 or 4 monsters a day or a bunch, if you're mixing original Jack 3D into your Red Bull, you have a problem. Like,
Dude,
dude,
That original Jack 3D though, it
that
hit.
hit different.
dude,
We used
that's
to
really different.
we used to look so I weight trained as much as I needed to in high school. When like my coach for whatever sport I was playing told me I needed to be at a lifting session. So after school, instead of lifting, we would just play basketball while everyone else lifted because we just weren't into it. And we would take the original Jack 3D just to play basketball. And
Oh,
I'm like, dude, we're literally taking crack and
yeah, you're
playing
taking
basketball.
back to play ball, man. I mean,
Yeah,
that's,
like it was actually like it wasn't helping. It was
no,
worse.
it's not healthy at all. A lot of you can read the labels on a lot of energy drinks now, and they're tossing in L-theanine. L-theanine is another great supplement to help your mind calm, and it's a good sleep supplement. I actually take 200 to 400 milligrams of L-theanine before I go to bed, and they're adding it to energy drinks because it helps you with clarity and focus, and it can kind of remove the jittery aspect that you get from all the caffeine. Just watch, like if you're not consuming a ton of them and your sleep is quality, you're fine. If your sleep is really bothering you, you really need to cut it out because caffeine does have a super long half-life. So, I mean, it's in your system for a lot longer than you think. So I personally, if I have clients that train at night, I recommend that they take a stimulant-free pre-workout, or maybe take like a nootropic, like something like Main Brain, or like what's that one from Onnit? Alpha Brain, Alpha Brain from Onnit.
Just Gorilla Mind.
Yeah, yes. Something like that. If they just have to have the caffeine boost because they're super tired, well, then you just supplement with like L-theanine or GABA or something like that before you go to bed to kind of bring you back down. GABA is the compound in wine and like red wine that makes you feel just chill and sleepy. And you can buy GABA tabs right on Amazon. It's great. So
So what when you say like a client trains late in the day, like what would be your cutoff for someone taking pre-workout?
4 or 5 at night, to be honest, if they're struggling with sleep.
Yeah.
I mean, I try personally not. I mean, I'm drinking decaf coffee now just because I like the taste. I like sip something while I'm talking, or whatever. But yeah, I try not to drink caffeine after noon personally.
We train about 4:30, 5 o'clock, and we're caffeine addicts. Like
It just depends on your lifestyle. If you're somebody who's up till 2 a.m. but you can sleep till 10, all right, well, whatever. Or if you're not struggling with your sleep, and it's also a factor of age. I mean, I spent nearly a decade in operations management for Starbucks before I was coaching full time, and I drank coffee all day, every day, and it was fine. As I've gotten older, one of the things that I've started to notice is I can fall asleep, but if I have caffeine, I will wake up a million times. It'll be very restless. And I measure my sleep. I'm a nerd like that.
Yeah.
So I use my Garmin watch and measure it, and I can tell when I've had caffeine.
What's your opinion on like the new trend too now that like everything is promoting natural caffeine? Like, what do you think about that? Like Rain is natural caffeine versus just caffeine anhydrous.
I think it's BS. I think caffeine.
Yeah.
Is
Okay.
fine. To me,
That's what I thought too.
Paige Hathaway just put this thing out on Instagram. It's like makes me want to bash my head into a wall. He's promoting this product, this creatine that doesn't cause water retention. I'm like, that's literally the point.
But it doesn't work.
Right. And then, but she's making it sound like, regular creatine makes you bloat and things like that. I'm like,
Right.
no, even if an asshole makes you bloat, creatine is intramuscular water. Like that's the whole point, is delivering extra nutrients to your muscles. So yeah, the supplement world is so frustrating because
Bullshit.
yeah, well, I mean, there's great stuff in there. I mean, there are a few brands that I will trust unequivocally. If they put it out, I trust it. But there are so many times, just, quick tip of advice. If you're looking for supplements, if it says proprietary blend, throw it in the trash. Just don't.
Yeah.
They're hiding what they're putting in there, or not willing to tell you the dosage, and it's not effective.
Well, that's another question we got, was about like the supplement industry and how it's like not FDA regulated.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, when I tell people that and they look at me like I'm crazy, like I don't know what your thoughts on that are. Like, I mean, I know like companies like GNC and Vitamin Shop and stuff like that, big vitamin stores aren't going to sell stuff that they think is shady, but like to an extent, but
Sure.
it's still scary that, simpletons like us, we don't know what the hell half these things aren't. We're just chugging them.
It's right. It's tricky because I can tell you this right now. I sure as hell don't want the government regulating anything because we still use BMI in the food pyramid. And
Sure.
that's a train wreck. So if the government started coming in and regulating everything, it would be an absolute disaster. So instead, we're left with the wild west of, marketing. And you can put, Jay Cutler on a bottle of creatine and be like, this is how I got ripped. Like, no, bro, that's a lot of Tren and Deca. Is how you got that over 15 years. And, and so, I mean, to be honest, that's one of the trade-offs is you have to do your research and education and just ask people. That's what I would suggest is if you want to do something or get a supplement and you have no idea what you're talking about, just ask because there's somebody that knows and you're not going to walk into a store blindly and just pick something off the shelf and,
Yeah. It's always funny. Like I introduce people at work or whatever and to these energy drinks I'm drinking and they're like, oh, they're healthy. They have BCAAs in them. I'm like,
Are healthy.
like that's how they get it. It's like creatine.
like the side of Lucky Charms, it looks like a multivitamin too.
Yeah, right.
It's fortified, but are we going to start saying we're taking our multivitamin because we
100%. I guess some other lifting questions. I'll only ask a couple more. Just some random ones. What would be your best accessory to improve grip? This person specifically asked farmer's hold. What would be
a disaster at grip? I'm the worst person. Let me actually show you something that's been helping me though. It's sitting right here on my desk. So these are called little tugs from Iron Mind. So the regular grippers don't do shit. But your grip, actually, this is what I've come to learn, rests in your ring finger and your pinky finger. So when you're on farmer's carries and they start to fail, you're going to fail there first, and then it's going to open up. So these tugs here, they make them in 4 sizes. They fit right here in your hand like that. And so I just squeeze on, it's just the bottom 2 fingers. So I'll do sets of like 15, and then I will just hold it for as long as possible. Sometimes I'll crimp up and I have like a claw hand for like 10 minutes. So I'm sitting there like this. But yeah, so I like these for grip. A lot for farmer's carries. These have helped me a ton, actually. Then other things, just like towel pull-ups are really good, or just dead hangs, just dead hang with a towel. But yeah, apart from that, or just doing it more, I think something that's really good. So Anthony Furman has notoriously great farmer's carry. I want to say he got 2nd place in the farmer's carry, maybe even 1st at the heavyweight Arnold, like 3 years ago. Like 380 or 90 pounds, something stupid per hand, and he did it in like 6 seconds. It was ungodly. But he always practice sub-maximal for long distance, and he would like pick it up, hold it for 10 seconds, and then every 20 feet drop and repick. And it does a couple things for you. It reinforces your pick position, your positionings, and then 2, it allows you to be, because a lot of people will panic, right? If they've never dropped a farmer's and then they get into a competition, they drop it and they just So, and it helps with your grip. And then when he finishes with like a 10-second hold. So he's always making it infinitely harder than it's going to be in competition, but also with sub-maximal weights and really long distances. So I think that's a good way to train farmer's carries.
right on? Fellas, do you have any other questions right now you want to get off before we start wrapping it up?
How long have you been doing strongman?
8 years.
Since the very beginning. 8 years?
8 years. Yep. Not too terribly long. Not as long as like Johnny was. We always tease him about that.
Dude, that's a guy I seriously want on. I was gonna ask you about him because I follow him on Instagram. He just seems like a funny follow. Like he just seems like a funny dude to talk to.
Dude, he's he's a really nice guy. If you don't know him, he can come across like a douche, but then you get to know him and that's just who he is.
Yeah.
like he's just so Jersey, man. He looks like Jersey Shore. Like he rolled into ASM a couple years like super late with like his whole entourage wearing like a Bulls jersey, sideways hat, and a bunch of bling. Like that's just
I saw a video of him at an overseas show and he was like in an all-American outfit and he was like trying to hype up the crowd. It was literally one of the funniest. I watched that video like 10 times. It was like an all-time internet video. He's just like going around and just like this American like asshole like all of us and just like going nuts and like it was awesome.
It was great. He's good. He's one of the OGs, man. I feel like he's been competing since like 2007 or something silly.
Yeah. Well, so all the custom strength equipment I bought for the gym, he buys his stuff from the same like manufacturer that I bought mine from, State of the Art Welding, up in Elba, New York. So that was actually how I learned about him. the owner, Zach, was like, hey, I make strongman stuff for this other guy too. And he started showing me some of the stuff he made. And that was
Okay.
kind of how I learned. I didn't really know anything about Johnny. So that's
Yeah.
just funny. That was funny. I was thinking about that other day. It's just when I was watching that video, I'm like, that's a guy that would be hilarious to have on the show.
Yeah, and he's one of the old guys too in the sport. He's like 44 and still trying to throw down with the 105s. I love it.
Yeah.
I feel old.
Seems like he's doing pretty well still.
Yeah, he's a decade older than me.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I really do appreciate you taking the time to come on. I know we all got our out. Believe it or not, we're not. Well, I mean, Anthony's getting paid a little bit more than us to do strongman, but not much at all. And we have outside lives and everything. So I really appreciate you taking the time to come on. You're officially our 105 guy that we're your biggest support team.
Yep.
The 580 fanatics are
I
gonna
love it. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Yeah, anytime. And I appreciate the opportunity to come on and yak for a little bit. You mentioned earlier me diving in nutrition. That's definitely the direction that I'm kind of taking my coaching and stuff like that is more of like a holistic wellness. So kind of branching off from the strength space, although strength athletes need that, man. Like we're a bunch of meatheads who will chew leather and swim in a sewer if it's going to add 50 pounds to our deadlift.
There's no lie.
But very
There's
few
no
of us, right? But very few of us think in the long term. And so one of my passions is making sure that when guys are, putting stuff in their bodies, whether legal or extracurricular, that they do things correctly and think about the long game and keep themselves healthy because they can. And I look at blood work every day of guys that are literally killing themselves for no reason. None at all. And it doesn't have to be that way. So, that's one of the reasons why I became so passionate about nutrition is just because I've seen the impact it's had on me and other people. It just not only increasing the performance, like dude, your deadlifts will go up if you can recover more. You will recover more if you eat fruits and vegetables. Like that's just the reality, because you're going to get so much more micronutrients. You're going to recover better. You're going to feel better. You're going to perform better. It's, everybody wins. And I think we're starting to see that, right? Like 15 years ago, powerlifters were just fat slobs who ate at McDonald's 6 days a week and squatted 1,000 pounds. And then you started to see guys like Dan Green burst on the scene who are shredded, look like they could step on the stage, and then they're also breaking records. Mm-hmm. And it started to kind of show, hey, you don't have to be morbidly obese to be savagely strong.
Yeah. So that led me into what I was going to say. Where someone's interested, where do they find you at? How do they contact you? How do they get a hold of you for your business?
So, I'm on Instagram's the main way. I'm on Facebook as well, but Instagram, my website's in my bio, but you can just IG me.
Okay.
Awesome.
Jump in the DMs.
So it's Anthony Diehl.
I need to look.
Anthony 105K Pro Strongman, all one word.
Yeah, so one word.
If you look up Anthony Diehl, you'll find him.
I had to look up what my own.
That's our producer will put it up there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll put the little name.
It's like when someone asks me my phone number, I'm like,
But definitely give Anthony a follow. Check him out. I mean, I can speak from experience. It's good. A lot of knowledge out there too. And yeah, man, we really appreciate you coming on.
For sure. My pleasure, man.
Thank you, buddy.
Thank you.
Absolutely.